Okay, good evening and welcome to the special city council meeting for Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Chaburka, who is joining us electronically, and Councilmember Nadolski, who is asked to be excused. First off, we will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance offered by Vice Chair White.
Please rise if you are able and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We've now asked those who are joining us here today to join with us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. First up is the approval of minutes. We have the joint work session of February 23rd, 2021. Councilmember Heyer.
Yes, Chair Blair, I have reviewed those and they are accurate to the best of my recollection. And I would make a motion that we approve those minutes.
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Lopez to approve the minutes. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Next up, we have three items listed under common consent. The enterprise fund transfer, the fiscal year 2022 through 2026 capital improvement plan, and the city utilities consumer price index calculation amendments. And all three of those, we will be setting a public hearing for June 22nd, 2021.
Chair Blair, I'd make a motion that we approve the common consent agenda by setting the public hearing for those three items for June 22nd.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to approve the items listed under common consent and a second by Vice Chair White. This, too, is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry,
Aye.
Chair Blair. That is a roll call vote because of the resolution on there.
Sorry. But still do them all together, correct? Okay. Sorry, this is a roll call vote. I missed that.
Councilmember Chaburka. Aye. Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Chair Blair.
Aye. Thank you. That passes. Next up is new business. First up, we have the salary schedules. And tonight we'll hear from Janine Eller-Smith, the Council Executive Director.
Okay, council members, it's always good to have the opportunity to present to you. Today we're going to ask you to set the public hearing on the FY 2021-22 salary schedules. Yeah, won't advance. Okay. So there are four salary schedules, one that covers non-merit special. Those are the elected officials, the managerial positions, the staff for council and mayor, judges, attorneys. Then there's the merit. That's all other non-sworn employees, and then one for police and one for fire. At your direction, we made some changes to the proposed salary schedule for the FY22 budget. You indicated that you thought the elected officials should be at benchmark. The mayor is a little over benchmark, so he will remain where he is. You will get the 4% salary increase that other employees are getting, which still doesn't bring you to benchmark. And then at your request, we will be bringing back a salary schedule amendment in December to increase your salaries to that benchmark. And that way, any new council members that are coming on after the election will have access to that slightly higher salary. Some of the other related information that's in the salary schedule tells you about the reclassifications. There are a couple. They're moving a code services collector to Treasury as a collection services coordinator, and that's a reclassification. And they're also just renaming a purchase technician to a collection technician. And this is part of the administration's efforts to consolidate the collection services. There are 5 new positions proposed, one in CED, the Economic Development Administrator. In the Comptroller's Office, there's proposed a new accountant. In information technology, there's a support specialist and an administrative assistant. And there's a fleet and facilities maintenance technician. For COLA and merit increases, as you know, the proposal before you is to implement the new salary schedules that were recommended by Evergreen's compensation study. So there'll be a minimum of 4% increase for all employees. And when I say minimum, it's possible that everybody will be brought up to the bottom of the proposed new ranges. And so that it's possible that that could be more than a 4% increase. And that will be effective July 1st for non-public safety employees, or on the service date for those public safety employees. In health insurance, there is a 12% cost to the city as the city moves to a self-insured model, but the city is picking up all of those increased costs, so there's no increases to employees, and there's no increases to the retirement. And that is the salary schedules. So I don't know if you have any questions. So the recommendation from staff is just to go ahead and set that public hearing for June 22nd.
Great. Thank you, Janine. Okay.
Chair, I think we had enough discussion about this over the past few weeks. Sounds like everybody's pretty talked out about it. If that's the case, I will make a motion that we set the public hearing on this item for June 22nd.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-29 and set the public hearing for June 22nd, 2021 by Councilmember Heyer, and a second by Councilmember Lopez. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. Next up, we have the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And then Ms. Ginny Neller-Smith again.
Brandon, our monitors aren't showing what's on the presentation, so yeah.
Probably because they're not on.
Mine's on.
Oh.
Yeah, we tried.
There it is. Thank you. It's great.
So I'm going to give you a slightly shorter version of the presentation that I made last week for the tentative budget. So as you know, for the final budget, the priorities are really that employee compensation plan. There's almost $6 million that are going towards employees in their additional salaries and benefits. They replaced a lot of the line items that were eliminated in the 2021 budget because of the unknowns of COVID. They've done proposing some great things for fleet replacement, moving to the self-insurance model, and then a significant funding in CIP, in the CIP. I just mentioned the staffing changes, those 5 new positions, one reclassified to renamed. And just to show a year over year, this is general fund revenue. This includes the Schedule A1 changes, including the updated one that we just received right before this meeting. So just for those who might be listening on Zoom or watching on Facebook, the packet information does not include that updated one, but this information does, and we will update the packet tomorrow morning first thing. So the final proposed general fund budget is 67.5. It's about 12% higher than last year. And you recall last year was a very lean year in terms of budgeting. And here's year-over-year comparisons for some of the other major funds. You can see there's a significant expenses proposed for the airport and for golf, medical services, and lots of expenditures in the CIP. So that total city budget is $215,309,950. That's an increase of 15% over last year's budget. As you have asked us to kind of stress that 5-year strategic plan, that primary directive to basically do things to the community that will lead people to want to call Ogden home. So those 4 strategic initiatives that were proposed in the 5-year plan, plus one that you felt was important to keep: economic development, community safety, recreation, city image and reputation, and fiscal sustainability. All of those things are reflected in the budget. As the budget is your primary policy document, and how you spend your money should really reflect your goals and your values. And I think that this budget does that. The Schedule A1 changes, I wanted to just briefly go over those. Most of the changes result from correcting that blended inflation adjustment, or CPI, as we might call it, and it offsets those reductions in revenues by retained earnings. It also funds that $250,000 needed in the river restoration project. That's that overruns that was mentioned by Public Services last week, and recognizes a donation for Union Station from the Powell Foundation. So total change to the budget is $160,000. So the final proposed budget is $215,309,950. And there's the total Ogden City budget, including the RDA, MBA, and strike force. So this is where we are. You can see we're getting down to the wire. We just have one more week for final discussions and then adoption of the city budget on June 22nd. I wanted to encourage the residents who might be listening or watch this later on Facebook to really consider providing some input to the council on the budget. We have provided as many ways as we can to contact you. You can call the office and leave a voicemail. There's the phone number there, 629-8158. And that message actually gets saved in a WAV file and sent to you as council members, so you actually get to hear their voice. Then there's a submission form that you can complete on ogdencity.com public input, and you can provide input that way, or you can email citycouncil@ogdencity.com. You also, each of the council members have their own contact emails, and if you want to contact them through their email addresses are on the website as well. So that is the proposal for the FY 21-22 final budget. And if you don't have any questions, we just recommend you set that public hearing for June 22nd.
Thank you. Any further comment or questions?
If there are none, Chair, I would like to propose to adopt ordinance 2021-30 to set the public hearing for June 22nd.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Lopez to set the public hearing on this on the 2021-2022 budget for June 22nd, 2021, and a second by Councilmember Heyer. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. Next up, we have a communications plan for the proposed honorary street name designation, and we've got Glenn Symes here tonight.
Thank you, Chair. It's been a long time since I've been up here, since anybody's been up here. But this is a bit of a procedural agenda item. Just to go over quickly what's happened. So there was a petition to assign an honorary street name for a portion of 2nd Street from Century Drive to Wall Avenue as Bingham Fort Chief Little Soldier Lane. The council took a vote on that petition on May 25th. The result of that vote was a tie vote, a 3-3 tie vote, which means that the petition failed. On June 1st, last week, the council voted to reconsider the item and then further voted to extend the item, extend consideration. So this is a live item now. And part of the council's rules and norms require that anytime the council extends an item as opposed to tabling an item, that council staff comes back the next available meeting and provide a communications plan for the review and the further consideration of that item. So since you all did extend the item, I'm here today to provide that communications update. In the discussions we've had with council leadership, we will be putting discussion of this item on next week's council work session. So the June 15th work session, which begins at 4:00, the council can discuss how you all would like to proceed with the review of this. As you are aware, there is a potential name amendment. We can talk about that next week. And then with that, we can talk about what you want to see as far as review. If you want to get input from other groups, the Diversity Commission or other staff, or however you want to proceed with that, we can talk through that next week. So we'll know more next week after that work session and how we proceed. One note I will mention is the Diversity Commission has invited me to provide an update at their meeting tomorrow. So tomorrow their meeting starts at 1:00. I will have a few minutes that I can provide an update to them as well, since they were involved in reviewing this petition. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we will talk about this next week.
Mr. Chair, do you know if the petitioner is also going to be into that meeting tomorrow? I know that she's been in contact with them, kind of.
Yeah, I have not. I don't know if the Diversity Commission has extended an invitation. I meant to let her know today, so I apologize. It's a bit short notice when I let her know, but I would like to let her know to see if she would want to attend that virtually.
I think she's eager to. She has felt that the input has helped make this product better, and
Right.
so she's eager to do that. So
Yeah, and that update tomorrow really is going to be essentially what I talked about tonight. We don't have any new information on it. It's more procedural, so they know what to expect. I have been in fairly regular contact with the petitioner, so she knows what's going on and what this step is, and that it'll be on the work session next week. So
thank you.
Is that going to be a Zoom meeting?
the Diversity Commission meeting will be. It will be electronic. Okay. Yeah, and the Zoom information is available on the city's agenda page. If you go to the Diversity Commission, they have that information.
Any chance you can send us a link?
Absolutely.
So we don't have to dig it out.
Yep, no problem at all.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Glenn? Okay, and this was just an information item, so there's no action needed here.
Okay.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Next up is public comments. Before we begin, we'll have Brandon explain how those who are joining us electronically can participate in the public comment portion.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, apologies for the technical difficulties. We're unable to get the chamber cameras working in Zoom. However, public comments will work the same way. And to do that, I do not see any public with us here tonight in the chamber. So if you are joining us via Zoom and want to participate in this public hearing, you can do so by using the raise hand feature found in the bottom of your application. And once you do that, we can let Chair Blair take it from there.
Okay. And I would just like to make a note that we'll take public comments here, and this is the only option for public comments for the council meeting, the RDA meeting, or the Municipal Building Authority meeting. So we'll go ahead and take all those comments now. Good. I see we have a few participants joining us tonight. I don't see any hands raised. There is one. Angel, go ahead, Angel Castilla. Brandon will unmute you, and the time is now yours.
Good evening, council members. Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. Thanks so much for navigating the technical challenges. I wanted to just bring up something that was discussed on the work session. I'm really pleased to hear that the council is actively engaged in looking at water conservation. And while I understand that we can't come up with a solution in a very rapid fashion, and budgeting money, and I know everybody is doing all the hard work with the budget, I would like to suggest that there is a transmission from the council that says that until further notice, fining for any resident within the city limits of Ogden for a brown lawn will not happen. There's still a lot of concern about that from citizens. And while I understand that Public Works has said that, we hardly ever do that, the long and the short of it is if the community doesn't know as a whole that this is what's going to be happening and it is okay not to water your lawn and you will not be fined, you're still going to have some people operating under the possibility that they could. So that's what I'd like to ask you. And again, I applaud you for going head on into something that's a very serious issue that we have to continue to look at and work on as we move forward. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Okay, seeing no other hands raised, we'll go ahead and move on. Comments from administration.
Thanks, Chair. I could answer the brown lawns thing. We have given direction to code enforcement. They will not be citing anyone for lawns that are not being watered, although we're going to encourage residents not to let them die. We're coming up with a promotion that we can send out to help people understand maybe how to keep them alive, but maybe not water them as much. So that is something we're hoping to come out with in the next week to be able to send out to people to kind of give them some ideas. We are concerned about where we are water-wise. Pineview Dam is at 52%. The temperature of the water is the highest we've seen at this time of year ever, which means algae blooms and other things are going to be forming in the dam, and we don't really know the extent to be able to treat that water. So this is a dire situation, and we are aware of that, and none of our code enforcement officers will be citing for lawns. Like I said, we are encouraging people not to let them die totally. We are still citing or encouraging people to take care of the long weeds. We do have a fair amount of that going on right now in the city, and so If someone gets a warning letter, it's more about weeds right now than the really tall weeds than it is about the lawn. So we are conscious of that. We have given that instruction many times, and I think code enforcement understands that.
Great, thank you. And we'll be sending that out. It's not just going to be on the webpage. It'll be sent out to each resident.
We're trying to figure out the communication piece of it, and I think it'll be talked about next week in council meeting. I think our water manager's coming to talk, and I think there's a lot of work right now to put that together and be able to get it out as quick as we can. So we think that's the best way to help people to figure out, okay, what's the least I can do and still not have things die. Yeah. That's all I have tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Comments from council members?
Along with that, Mark, I think we ought to send information out for firework restrictions that we have, and maybe, if possible, we could invite maybe the fire chief to come in and maybe review that at our next session.
He is on the agenda to come next week, and we are trying to get the word out about the fire restrictions, and we're watching it as closely as we can. We are concerned. We cannot ban fireworks. We've had several kind emails suggesting that we ban them. We can't. State law won't prohibits us from doing that. Now, the governor or the legislature could take further action, which we kind of hope they do, because we're really worried about any fireworks this year. But like I said, we are trying to get the word out about the fire restriction areas. And this is one of the earliest times we've actually put these restrictions in place.
Thank you.
Okay.
So is there anything that we can do for communication with the community about the lawns besides, are there any communication efforts happening?
I think we're working on how to communicate this out. I think it hasn't been that long we came up with the idea about trying to help people understand how to care for lawns during this type of environment we're in. So I think we're working on that. We're also working on how to communicate that out. We have At Your Service that goes out. I hope people read that comes in their water bill. But we need to figure out how to communicate to all the populations of the city, and both those that are maybe not English is not their first language. And so I am concerned about that. And if you have ideas, please email me and send me those. I'd be happy to pass those on to our marketing people.
Certainly, we as council members have a certain amount of influence, and through our social media avenues and talking to people. And I think, we need to make sure that our lawn isn't the greenest on the block. And we use those methods to promote this. And it's kind of that you tell two people, they tell two people, we'll get the word out. I know that people they have a heightened awareness of this right now, and but perhaps maybe they could use some ideas, and that's what maybe we could do with our social media pages, is to share how we have cut back our water usage, and I've shared some of the things that I've done with a few of you, and they're effective. They're my family water usage has gone way down, so and it hasn't really hurt. So I think if we can promote it that way, in our own circles of interest, that's certainly a way to start. We could do that today. And I wanted to thank Angel. I'm glad our citizens are watching this. That's a good suggestion that you gave. Thank you for that.
Yep. Okay. Any other council comments?
So we have do we have the capability to record videos? I know at some point I don't know if there was a room set up here. We can still do that. And if we can, I don't know if we should coordinate something too, because as we know, social media is so effective. And maybe, I don't know if the council is interested in doing something together, or if it's separate, or the administration together. I don't know, but I think the suggestions from Councilmember Heyer, I appreciate, and I think they're great. But I feel like maybe if we have something that even has the look and feel that it's more official coming from the city, potentially it could be more effective. And, for our Spanish-speaking population, of course, I would be happy to read or speak or record anything in Spanish. And, just something to consider, I guess. I don't know if whoever wants to address this, if it's at a leadership meeting, or Janine, if you can maybe figure out a way, give us ideas. I would just, love to do as much as we can. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other council comments, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Stevens. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes. Good. Okay. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Redevelopment Agency meeting for Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Let the roll call reflect that all board members are present, with Board Member Chaburka joining us electronically, and Board Member Nadolski has asked to be excused. First up, we have the approval of minutes, the regular meeting of February 9th, 2021, and the special meeting of February 23rd, 2021. Board Member Lopez.
Yes, Chair, the minutes are correct, and I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Lopez to approve the minutes and a second by Vice Chair White. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. That passes. Next up, we have a public hearing for the fiscal year 2021-2022 proposed budget. And tonight we have Janine Eller-Smith, the Council Executive Director, here to present.
Thank you, Chair Blair. So, as you know, the RDA includes several project areas. The reason we have an RDA is to encourage that private investment in the city and hopefully develop provide some economic development, increase our tax base. Right now we have 13 project areas. The total budget for the RDA is $10,658,000. There were no RDA areas that expired in 2020. Just as a side note, when I started with the council office, we had, I think, 22 or 23 project areas. So you can see there's been a lot that have timed out in the past 11 years. The RDA gets its revenues from property tax. We transfer some BDO lease revenue in, interagency transfers, interfund transfers from the districts to administration or housing. There's some interest income and other miscellaneous incomes. The expenditures go to support RDA projects. Some of the most recent projects are the BDO, the Continental, and Track Line, which is that Swift building. So here's a summary of the project areas. Fairmont is getting, it's one of the older ones, doesn't, but still generating. A lot of these are older, and some of the ones that show zero have timed out, but they still have a budget because they're just kind of wrapped up things. 25th Street timed out a couple of years ago, but we did use that fund to purchase some property And so there's still some debt service there that needs to be covered. As you can see, Ogden River, you probably recognize some of them. Kiesel and Continental is the newest. And you can see that there's quite an increase in there just because there's lots of things happening over there. So the total budget for the project areas is $8.6 million, and that's just a 3% increase over last year. The total RDA budget includes the district revenues and expenditures, also some funding for administration and for housing. And so you see that's a significant amount of money going into housing. State law requires that I think it's 20% of most of the RDA project areas go towards housing. This is a list of the BDO lease revenue that is being transferred into the RDA. Those that are not marked are ongoing or previous commitments that the RDA had, mostly for a property purchase. But there are several new projects that I thought you might want to hear a little bit more about. They didn't get covered much in the work session. So the total new projects are $2.7 million. That does not include the $1 million for the quality neighborhoods. So I've asked Mr. Brandon Cooper to kind of come up and talk just a little bit about those projects here and kind of go over what they're for.
Chair, board members, thank you. It's good to be back. It's like we never left, at least for me. I'd like to say thanks to Janine for always her professional presentation and the way she puts the information together. It's very helpful. These are the new projects that were on the chart. D Avenue is not necessarily a new project. It's been considered for some time, ever since the trackline project area was conceived, but it does contemplate the extension of D from 24th Street down to the new Exchange Road. There's an intersection there that was planned to receive that road extension. And in this budget, we're requesting funds for just design. The road itself would be multiple millions of dollars, but we're looking for just design money now to get that process going to understand what those costs will be in the future. East Exchange.
Do we own all the right of way?
We don't.
Okay.
So part of that study would determine what the right-of-way is, what properties might be impacted from that right-of-way, and start to think about acquisition costs as well as construction costs.
Thanks.
East Exchange Road is in the trackline project as well. That looks at taking the improvements on Exchange Road from where they ended, which is about where Brentag is, going east towards the river, and this will accommodate some of the new improvements that are being made at the kayak park. It will also support the sale of the Swift property once that cleanup is finished. That road will not support new traffic that will come from the new development. So the proceeds from the sale of the Swift, in addition to the monies requested in this budget, would go to rebuild Exchange from where it stops now to the Swift site, essentially over the bridge to the dead end road. Exchange building upgrades. This includes the repurchase of the Exchange building. If you remember, our contract with the developer required us to purchase the building back under certain conditions, or if certain conditions weren't met. Those conditions were not met. Therefore, that triggers that repurchase. It's $195,000. The remaining portion of the money would go to do some immediate necessary repairs on the building: brick repair, window repair, and roof repair. We're losing large portions of the walls of that building, and we're in desperate need of making some immediate repairs to that to waterproof it and to prevent further damage. And then we would be looking at development of that building with a development partner, similar to how we would typical other projects.
So we would own the building then?
We would own the building, yes.
Okay.
Nine Rails Public Realm Improvements. This is $290,000 for improvements in the Nine Rails district, mostly to complement the BRT. The BRT is coming up 25th Street, and the BRT's budget did not allow for some of the street improvements that the Nine Rails plan calls for, and it doesn't really connect very well to the improvements being made at the Dumpke Arts Plaza. So $290,000 is to help fill in the gaps between the BRT project limits and the Dumpke Arts Plaza project limits, as well as other things that that the Nine Rails plan calls for. Right now, that would be focused largely on the area right where the Dumpke Plaza is, so between Ogden Avenue and Washington, we would look to fill in some of those gaps between the BRT project and the plaza. And then if there's additional funds, we would look to enhance lighting and some other things up 25th Street that the BRT doesn't deal with. The East Central Quincy infill is a 9-home subdivision that the community development folks are planning. That's in between 23rd and 24th Street on Quincy Avenue. There's some acquisitions to do there, but the money requested in this budget is for infrastructure only, so it's to build a cul-de-sac. The exciting part about this subdivision is that this is the first one that we are initiating that would have ADUs built into the model, meaning that in some cases we could have an ADU in the house, meaning there'd be a separate entrance to a basement that would act as an apartment, or on the detached garage above with a separate entrance. Either way, it would allow for the homeowner to then have a rental opportunity. And so we're trying to plan that kind of concept into those homes. And the Gibson Grove is the housing project that we've been working on for a number of years now. We've acquired some property over on the north side of the river along the Gibson Avenue corridor, and the $250,000 or $70,000 would be for some additional land acquisition and some road improvements on Gibson to prepare for that project. That's it. Any questions?
I do have a question. You were talking about buildings that already set up for an ADU. Mm-hmm. While I am a big fan of ADUs, are you concerned about that model that might just turn that thing into a duplex?
Well, the ADU ordinance, has some rules.
I know the ordinance is going to cover this, but you know how that all goes.
Right.
That's my concern, is that people will see two residences and make some assumptions and not look at the ordinance. That's the concern. I think people that convert a home into an ADU, they know it. They kind of get all that. And I'm not saying let's not do that. I think our strategy has to include a way to make sure that that's perfectly understood.
We've actually talked about it with the community development guys, and I think it's all in the messaging at the time of purchase. So I think at this point our design allows for flexibility based on the buyer. So they could buy it and have it built as an ADU. Mm-hmm. Some homes might be spec'd where the buyer comes in after the home's built, and we're not quite sure how to deal with that yet. Maybe we can allow for separation at that time. But I think it's in the messaging and how we market the product, and how then enforcement happens just like anything after the fact.
Does that get recorded on a title that it is an ADU or that's not? I'm not sure how all that stuff happens.
No, not typically.
Okay. Well, just something to think about. So
thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, so thanks to Mr. Cooper for doing that. So that is the RDA budget. I just wanted to make sure that you had a good understanding of what was coming from BDO Lease Revenue. I know that money is precious to us, and making sure that it's going to projects that you think are worthy. So with that, if there's no more questions for me, we would just recommend that you adopt the FY22 RDA budget.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing, and I don't see any public here, so we'll have Brandon go ahead and explain how those who are joining us virtual can go ahead and take part in the public hearing.
Thank you, Chair. And it should be noted as well that those of you watching via Facebook and YouTube, there is a delay. So if you do have a desire to participate in this public hearing, you need to be on Zoom and you need to be there right now so we don't miss you. Sorry, let me get back to Zoom here. So to participate in the public hearing, you can use the raise hand feature found at the bottom of the screen, and then Chair Blair will call on you to address the council.
Thank you, Brandon.
Are you not seeing what I'm saying? Sorry.
That's what we're seeing.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Whoa.
Much better. Okay, we have one hand raised. Angel Castilla. Go ahead, Angel. The time is now yours.
Good evening, RDA board members. Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. I just wanted to remind everybody about the discussion that was had during work sessions and in some previous RDA meetings with regards to the Quality Homes Neighborhood Program. I'm all for the Quality Neighborhoods Program. I think it's amazing. And I am sure you recall the discussions that we had with the fact that we don't have any sort of adjustment to the types of buildings that are going to be built and whether or not those fall within affordable for Ogden resident AMI. And Board Member Lopez had brought up some condo situations. I myself brought up some other cities, and I believe Board Member White had brought up some things. And this is the time that you're approving the budget, and it was expressed that, yeah, we're willing to look at these options. We still have no real plan. And I think it's a little not in the best interest of the city to go ahead and say, yeah, we have a problem. Yeah, we need to talk about it. We're going to give you $1 million, and I guess we'll figure it out. That just doesn't sit well with me. And I think that, now is the time that you call for change when you approve a budget, because you have the power to say, yes, we're going to approve this. No, we're not going to approve this, or we're going to approve this with some conditions. And here are the conditions. And I just think that that's something that's very important. And as I've mentioned in other meetings, that this is something that's being discussed at the state. And if you want to make sure that your children can continue to live here, that that they don't move, that they can afford to live by their parents, or if we can afford to house our emergency responders, our teachers, these are all people that make $50,000 a year or less entry level. We need to come up with some more creative solutions. So I would highly encourage you to put some sort of a caveat on that you're going to actually put a flag in the sand and say, we're going to have a plan. We're not going to continue to do things exactly as the way that we've done them before, because we understand that the market has changed and that we need to be more responsive. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel.
Chair, seeing no more hands raised, I'd make a motion we close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Heyer and a second by Board Member Stevens to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Okay. Any further discussion, or I'd entertain a motion?
Chair, I'd make a motion then that we adopt resolution 2021-10.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Heyer to adopt proposed resolution 2021-10 and a second by Board Member Lopez. This is a roll call vote.
Board Member Chaburka?
Aye.
Board Member Heyer?
Aye.
Board Member Lopez?
Aye.
Board Member Stevens?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Thank you. Next up is comments from the Executive Director.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. And comments from board members. Seeing no comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Board Member Lopez and a second by Board Member Heyer to adjourn this meeting. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Thanks. You have to change it again now.
I know. I don't know why I did it. Right?
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Municipal Building Authority meeting for today is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Let the roll call reflect that all trustees are present with the exception of Trustee Nadolski, who is asked to be excused, and Trustee Chaburka, who is joining us electronically. First up, we have a public hearing. We've got Glenn Symes, the Senior Policy Analyst and City and Council Deputy Director, here to present to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The mayor's not here, so we can't say Mr. President.
Mr. President.
We get to do that once a year, usually. Thank you. So, yeah, on the agenda tonight is the proposed adoption of the final budget for the FY22 Municipal Building Authority. And this should go fairly quickly, since there isn't much. Thank you, Brandon. Isn't much on there. So some of the items that you've seen over the last few years in the budget include the Lindquist Field Stadium bond and the Public Works Facility bond. The Lindquist Stadium bond was refunded during the fiscal year 2020, so last year. So it's still in the budget, although it's not funded for the FY21 budget year. And that is no longer part of the NBA budget. The Public Works Facility bond, which is the other one, matures, if these numbers are correct from last year, from what we got, matures in about a week. So that should be off the books for next year as well. So the last... All right. So what's left in the budget is just a little bit of money for professional and technical for any financial reporting. So there's just $5,000 left in the budget. The other ones are still line items, but there's no funds proposed for FY22. So if you have any questions beyond that, I'd be happy to answer those if I can.
So would we keep the MBA if they're all zero?
Yeah. So the entity will still exist. And it may be used for something in the future, so we would want to keep that around, so we wouldn't close that out.
Very well.
That's the kind of presentation
Yep,
I like.
exactly. That's the kind of
We're all
budget
going,
presentation
yeah,
we're
this is good.
not used to. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so we'll have Brandon go ahead and explain how those who are joining us electronically can participate.
Thank you, Chair. To participate in this public hearing, you must be joining us via Zoom. And so if you're joining us via Facebook or YouTube and want to participate in this one, you have to jump on Zoom really quick, especially because there's about a 15-second delay. And so you're already behind. But with that, we will wait for hands raised, which can be done at the bottom of the Zoom application. And then Chair Blair will call on you accordingly.
I don't see anything, Brandon. Okay.
We see what you see.
Yeah.
So you see nothing?
Correct.
Neither. Okay. Neither do we. Well, that's not true. We see a Windows logo. It's not very helpful.
No.
No, we were not.
Sorry. No, yeah, I really didn't say anything.
That's what we
There
were
we
talking
go.
about. It's okay.
Amateur hour.
It's the beard.
So how, has this been up for a little while? They've been able to,
Yeah.
well, if that's the case, Chair, I would make a motion that we close the public hearing since we don't see any hands.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Trustee Heyer to close the public hearing and a second by Vice Chair White. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes.
Chair, I'd love to make this motion. Hopefully it's the last one for a while. The Municipal Building Authority. And I would make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2021-1.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Trustee Heyer to adopt proposed resolution 2021-1 and a second by Vice Chair White. This is a roll call vote.
Trustee Chaburka?
Aye.
Trustee Heyer?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Thank you. And now, comments from the president.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay. Comments from other trustees.
It's been kind of good to watch this amount go down over the years.
Yeah.
It's nice to see it kind of hit zero now. So
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Vice Chair White and a second by Trustee Lopez to adjourn the meeting. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Thank you.